Hello and welcome to the Saturday, May 16th, 2026 edition of the 284 Media Weekend Roundup. I am Jacques Wooding Donovan, bringing you our top stories from this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Former Minister Honorable Mark Vanterpool says that party politics is killing the Virgin Islands, as he unveiled plans to register the People's Leadership Movement as a political party ahead of the next general election. More in this report.
Why versus why not was the central theme for former Minister of Communications and Works Mark Vanterpool as he officially launched his new People's Leadership Movement during a public event on Wednesday. Speaking before a crowd of supporters and onlookers, Vanterpool delivered a fiery address outlining his dissatisfaction with the current political landscape in the Virgin Islands and his vision for a new direction in leadership. Vanterpool declared that he was unwilling to stand by and stay on a ship that was not serving the people, arguing that party politics has become damaging to the territory. He said the People's Leadership Movement was created as an alternative focus on putting the peoples first.
Mark Vanterpool isn't about a party. If you want to hold on to your party, with the shit going down, hold on! Hold on! If you want to hold on to your party and to your friends for friendship and everything, hold on! I am telling you, when the ship going down, I bail it up. I am not going down with the ship. What I'm telling you is not about parties. This party thing killing the Virgin Islands. It's about leadership to help the country of the Virgin Islands get out of the rut it's in and go forward. That is what this movement is about. That is why I'm here. That is why I've left all the parties and I've come to build a movement for the betterment of the people of the Virgin Islands. So that's why I'm here. I believe this country needs a different and a new direction. I am offering myself to help lead that direction.
According to Vanterpool, the movement will soon be formally registered as a political party, and he intends to contest the 4th district seat in the next general election. During his address, Vanterpool also appeared to hint at broader leadership ambitions, drawing comparisons between his leadership style and that of former Chief Minister Hamilton Lavity Stout.
The last leadership that should be going forward, regardless, was a man who led us here called H. Lavity Stout. I need a big round of applause for him. Number one, you might not know him, but when he said he's going south, he gonna make electricity to the whole country. He gonna build roads throughout the country. He is going to build a college. He built it. He's going to make education for all. In 1968, he opened education from 200 privilege to 800. That was Lavity South. Somebody might have said, we're going all the children up in high school. But he knew what he was doing. He wanted all of the people of the Virgin Islands to have a chance to go to high school. Before him, only 25 went in every year. Do you believe that? Do you understand that? The rest of us went to 7 standard. That is a man who had a vision and who saw the vision and went for it. I say, there's another Lavity South on the horizon.
The launch follows Vanterpool's recent bid for leadership of the National Democratic Party, NDP, where he was defeated by 8th District Representative Marlon PENN. In the aftermath of the contest, Vanterpool began signaling a possible departure from the party while promoting the idea of a new political movement. Wednesday's launch now confirms his political split and set the stage for what could become a new force in the Virgin Islands political future ahead of the next general election. Britannia Whittle, Tweet for News.
Meanwhile, questions continue to mount over how much public money has been spent on a series of high-profile criminal prosecutions undertaken by the Director of Public Prosecutions that were ultimately dismissed or overturned in the courts. It seems as though the people of the British Virgin Islands may never know the figure of thousands or even millions of dollars spent by the government of the Virgin Islands through the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, over the last few years for major cases lost in the High Court. On several occasions, at press conferences and other forums organized by the government, senior journalists, including veteran Zan Lewis, has probed the issue and sought answers from Premier Dr. Natalia Wheatley and at times Financial Secretary Jeremiah Frett on the amount of money spent on cases involving Wade Smith, Lorna Stevens, Pamphil Prevost, Simon Powers, Marley Sebastian, Najan Christopher, and Myron Walwyn. All of these persons were arrested, charged, and taken before the court and prosecuted by UK King's Counsel Sandip Patel, who represented the DPP's office and lost all the cases. The DPP, Tiffany Scatliff, has also unsuccessfully appealed these cases. Another case against Pasha Stout is still pending. During last Wednesday's Virgin Islands Voice, the Premier was asked again to provide answers to those questions.
Attempts were made by the Financial Secretary to get the information. It was explained at that particular time why the information could not be shared. So we are a government of laws, and when the DPP says to me that for these particular reasons, and some of them actually quote in law, that the information cannot be shared, as a responsible leader of government, I have to respect that.
Could you tell me the laws
let me just
govern that? Could you tell me the laws that govern that?
Let me just say this to you, Zan. That discussion was had in the presence of the governor. Okay, so I just want you to appreciate that attempt was made to get the information for you, and it was shared with myself as well as the Financial Secretary that the information could not be provided. No.
It would be correct to say, Premier, that the information is not being presented because of the DPP, the office of the DPP, because of laws quoted by the DPP. So you are interested in sending no information. The Financial Secretary is interested, but the DPP is not, correct?
No, I've already said what I had to say on that. But, John, you must appreciate we have a show on a particular topic. You have completely thrown us off our topic and the purpose for the show tonight. And I appreciate that this is information that you've been trying to get. I understand that, but what the acting Director of Communication said is correct. We'll have to communicate with you directly as it pertains to any further information on this particular topic.
In a statement issued last week, Scatliff addressed growing public and media scrutiny surrounding the appointment and remuneration of Patel. According to Scatliff, Patel was appointed in 2022 as a special prosecutor under Section 59(3) of the Virgin Islands Constitution Order 2007. She explained that Patel continues to assist in a number of ongoing matters linked to the Commission of Inquiry into governance in the British Virgin Islands, including appeals that remain active before the courts. The DPP said requests from members of the media seeking details on Patel's remuneration involve what she described as sensitive materials connected to criminal prosecutions. Scatliff argued that the disclosure of such information could create risks to prosecutors, the operations of the DPP's office, and broader national security interests. Citing the legal principle of public interest immunity, the DPP stated that details surrounding Patel's compensation and ongoing matters cannot be released. Scatliff maintained that her office has consistently acted in the best interest of the territory and remains committed to preserving justice, integrity, and the rule of law of the Virgin Islands. Jacko Wooding Donovan, 284 News. Meanwhile, the first public assessment of the Virgin Islands Commission of Inquiry reform process is expected to be submitted this summer following delays beyond the original 6-month timeline. That's according to a recent update from Governor Daniel Prus. More in this report.
Governor Daniel Prus says a report assessing progress on the implementation of Commission of Inquiry (COI) reforms is expected to be prepared over the summer, following questions about delays in publishing the first 6-month review. The issue was raised during a recent press conference where the governor was reminded that former UK Overseas Territories Minister Stephen Doughty had requested that COI reform assessments be published every 6 months following the lifting of the order in council last September. The first 6-month period ended in March, but no report has yet been released. Responding to questions about the delay, Governor Prus said locally elected government have continued advancing work under the Governance Reform Implementation Plan, and that Cabinet has been receiving regular updates on the progress being made.
Over the course of the passing months, the locally elected governments have been taking forward their work on the Governance Reform Implementation Plan. I'm sure they'd be delighted to brief you in more detail on that. And we've been regularly updated in Cabinet on how that process has been advancing. This, of course, remains a topic that I, as Governor, and my colleagues in the UK continue to have a very close and active interest in. The delivery of the COI legislative and regulatory frameworks obviously was critical, but even more critical is the actual implementation of all of those measures. My intention would be to prepare a report as commissioned by the Minister, you're exactly right, probably over the course of the summer, so that we'd be in a position to have something to submit to him then.
The Commission of Inquiry reforms were introduced to strengthen governance, accountability, and transparency in the Virgin Islands, following recommendations made in the COI report. Britannia Whittle, 284 News.
And with that, we take a quick word from our sponsors. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Across the Virgin Islands, drivers have trusted VI Motors for generations. For 60 years, we've delivered dependable transportation, expert repairs, and quality parts, all under one roof. As a proud Napa franchise, our parts department carries leading brands like PPG Paints, Magic Accessories, Top Don Diagnostics Tools, Westlake and Goodyear Tires, plus reliable LTH batteries. Everything your vehicle needs to perform at its best. Our expert service department handles maintenance, diagnostics, and repairs you can rely on. And our vehicle sales team offers trusted Toyota and Honda vehicles built for island life. We proudly serve you at 2 locations, our flagship store in Dove's Bottom, Tortola, and our location on Virgin Gorda. From parts to service to sales, we're committed to you every step of the way. VI Motors, service beyond the call, serving the Virgin Islands for 60 years.
Hey girl, you hear about that deal with that bundles?
Yeah, but everybody keeping where I could get the good stuff.
And I really need, cause my stylist
Put me onto a website here, and the inches is not inching, and the bundles, oh my, you're not even bundling. Like, I don't even know what's up.
stylist? You mean talking about hair?
What?
Are you deaf? Girl, I see me talking about hair.
What are you talking about?
CCT.
I confused.
Save up to $1,000 when you bundle your mobile, fiber, or broadband services. Bundle all 3 and receive a free MiFi device on us. That's what's up when you bundle up with CCT. Life Unlimited.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with news that at-large Representative Honorable Stacey Mather wants continued investment in agriculture. More in this report.
At-large Representative Stacey Mather is calling for continued investment in agriculture in the Virgin Islands, arguing that the territory must place greater focus on building the sector into a sustainable industry. Speaking on a recent episode of Virgin Islands Voice program, Mather said the conversation surrounding agriculture should move beyond small-scale farming and instead center on developing agriculture as a viable business sector for the territory. The territorial representative also called on Premier and Minister of Finance Finance, Dr. Natalia Wheatley, who was seated to his right, to continue allocating funds towards agricultural development.
So if we go back in the history of the Virgin Islands, from what I know in terms of agriculture, there were moments in Virgin Islands history where you saw heavy investments. You know, if we think back, we can think about the greenhouses that were done by Honorable Omar Hodge, right? May he rest in peace. You know, he had the foresight to think of indoor farming and how it could be done. It didn't work out the way we would have wanted it to work out. Irma took those down. But now, you know, if you go on TikTok, you'll see vertical farming. In those plastic containers, they're growing arugula, they're growing lettuce. And, you know, you can set up 100 of them, and you can have produce within, a few weeks. And the Premier has been talking about doing initiatives like this. The department has been talking about it. So while we're feeding the mind of the people in the Virgin Islands, Kareem, I'm going to be encouraging the Premier as we go through this year to start investing for the body. You know, we have to feed our body, and in order to do it, we have the sand and we have the soil and we have the sea, and it needs to happen. You know, when you look at agriculture itself, we've had extension services over the years where agriculture would train, they would have equipment, and agriculture is definitely at the point where it needs more of an investment in our territory and fisheries. You know, I've spoken in the House when I sat on the other side. I want to keep it real that fishermen need supplies. Right now, bait is an issue for them, ice is an issue for them. And I think that sometimes supplying to the individual farmer is very costly to the government. But again, setting up these landing sites that the Premier has been talking about, where ice is readily available, we will take care of many with one station. And these are the investments that I know the government is making, but I'm also going to lend my voice, and I'm going to agitate the Premier here and there as the Minister of Finance to put some more money into agriculture so that our farmers can see the investment. And also, I would like to say that there's been a call to do more public events with agriculture. You know, when we had the fair, and we're going to have a meeting, not this Monday, but the following Monday, with the vendors and the farmers and officials, even those who did not attend the fair, to give your input. We want to announce the date for the fair for next year, because we want to show that we're committed and we're serious about agriculture and fisheries. And, you know, if you consider what's happening in the territory, we have a lot of young people who are involved in fishing, a lot of young people who are involved in farming. And, you know, it's a great stress reliever, but it's also a business. And we have to find ways to educate, but also ways to invest. So I'm calling on the Premier to continue to pump some money into agriculture.
Mather did not outline specific policy proposal during the program, but emphasized the importance of continued investment in the industry. He also called on residents to do more to support local farmers by buying the produce when they're available. Britannia Whittle, 284 News.
In other news, talk show host Claude Skelton-Klein is voicing concern over what he believes could become a monopoly in the Virgin Islands fuel market following the recent acquisition of Delta Petroleum by SUNOCO LP, parent company to Sol. Speaking on his Honestly Speaking radio program, Skelton-Klein questioned whether allowing a single company to dominate the territory's petroleum sector is in the public's best interests. The acquisition, finalized last month, expands the company's reach into the Virgin Islands market through its parent company relationship with Sol Petroleum. Skelton-Klein compared the situation to the historic monopoly once held by Cable and Wireless in the telecommunications sector, arguing that monopolies can negatively impact pricing, competition, and consumer choice.
I shared with you a couple of weeks ago that SUNOCO, which is a multinational company but based out of the United States, has bought both Delta BVI and Sol BVI. We have one oil company now who owns, basically is in a monopoly position of when it comes to petrol, fuel, diesel in this country. One. And this is a throwback to the cable and wireless days. We had one UK company for 40 years, monopoly in this country. And here we are in the 21st century, the first quarter of the 21st century. And we have allowed again and underscore the word allowed. And don't let us not be fooled, because the way these multinational corporations work, they'll let you keep the name Delta. They'll let you keep the name Sol to make you and I believe that there's some difference. There ain't no difference. It's a control of what will ultimately be gas price in this country. It's a control of who will be able to source and respond to the request for proposal in order to contract with the BVI Electricity Corporation. It's a monopoly. And you know what monopolies do? They manipulate. They set prices. They determine supply and demand.
He further criticized what he described as insufficient oversight by the government and the Trade Department, suggesting stronger leadership and regulatory frameworks are needed to protect public interest.
We need proper leadership in trade. We need proper leadership in trade. We need proper leadership in trade. My record is not stuck. I'm repeating it for a purpose. We need proper leadership in trade. I've offered a critique in the past. When you have companies in this country, supermarkets, who own 98 licenses, Hunt's, ketchup and tomato paste and Kellogg's, one company operated in your country. And then because they own the licenses, everybody else who is in the supermarket business have to buy those products from them, or else they don't get the product. They can't go to St. Martin, they can't go to Puerto Rico, they can't go to the US and buy those products because they're gonna say, we have a licensee in the Virgin Islands. You gotta go through them. And then you allow that monopoly to operate both in the wholesale and the retail. We need leadership in trade, and we need leadership in political office who will take this bull by the horn and turn this country around in the best interest of the average citizen in this country. And they will lie to you and they will tell you all kind of stories, but I'm telling you, unless and until we get proper leadership in this country who is going to deal with the root, which is the source of the things that troubles us at the fruit level, until we get that, all we're going to be doing is sitting up here and talking and blowing smoke and whining and complaining. Nothing will change.
The comments come at a time of heightened sensitivity around fuel prices and energy costs, as residents around the territory continue to feel the effects of rising global oil prices and related fuel surcharges. Jacques Wooding-Donovan, 284 News. Meanwhile, leader of the opposition, Marlon PENN, has acknowledged that it is fair for members of the public to feel that the opposition has been relatively quiet on issues affecting residents amid the ongoing global economic uncertainty linked to conflict in the Middle East. More in this report. PENN made the comments during a recent Talking Points radio program after the host suggested that the opposition had not been vocal enough regarding measures announced by the government to address rising fuel costs and the cost of living pressures. The host argued that as an opposition seeking the confidence of voters ahead of the next general election, there should have been stronger public engagement either supporting or critiquing the government's response.
It's a fair criticism, and I think a lot has happened between the time when announcements were made and our own personal internal things that were happening. And I think that the opportunity was missed, but it's not lost. And the reality is that we will still monitor what's happening. I actually made some comments on some of the concerns on another medium, particularly with the Premier's assertion that somehow that there's going to be consumer protection in place to really protect or underpin some of the things that he's done. And I said very clearly at that time that it cannot happen because you've already suspended the Trade Commission. There's no consumer protection legislation that could be implemented because it was pinned and pegged to the Trade Commission. And then subsequently I saw him brought to the House while we were in session, an amendment to the Consumer Protection Act that was laid on the table last week or week before. Last week, I think it was, after those comments were made. So I have engaged, not in totality, because we still have to assess what they're proposing and what those implications really are. On the surface, I know that we initially tried to do some similar things when we had at the time. I think there was some follow-up globally as well that was causing a spike in fuel prices and other things. Yeah. And we found that the measure of the wharfage and so forth didn't have a huge impact on price. And I don't believe that it's going to have a huge impact on price now either, because I don't think that as much could be passed on to the consumer.
Jacqueline Donovan, Tweet 4 News. And with that, we take a quick break, but stay tuned because there is more when we return.
At Higher BVI, we're not just about business. We're about empowering lives, and that is because we aspire to inspire. By choosing us, you're supporting a company that believes in equal opportunities, diversity, and community growth. Our mission goes beyond profit. It's about providing HR solutions, fostering talent, and leaving a positive impact. Join us in building a better future, a better BVI. Choose Higher BVI, where your support isn't just a transaction, it's a transformation. Together, we're changing lives in these beautiful Virgin Islands.
Father Jesus, that line here long like church service.
Alright, you enjoy the rest of it. Next customer line, please. Wait, hold on a second.
Yes, Sonny boy, come, yes, Sonny.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sonny boy. What on there? You must have cut Fanta people.
It's okay, I'll take care of it.
What? No man to take care of me.
How may I assist you?
Yes.
You want top of power?
You want top of power?
Join the prepaid party with CCT and enjoy more affordable data plans, more top-up promotions, more savings with hero bundles, and more value for your money each and every Tuesday with Top Up Turn Up Tuesday. Visit a CCT store today or anywhere CCT Top Up is sold and top up your phone.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You want top of power?
Welcome back and thank you so much for sticking with us. In regional news, the Caribbean Public Health Agency says the risk of hantavirus spreading in the Caribbean remains low. That is despite an outbreak linked to the MV Hondias cruise ship.
The Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, is urging the public to remain vigilant but not alarmed following reports of a hantavirus outbreak linked to the MV Hondias cruise ship, stressing that the overall risk of the Caribbean remains low. According to CARPHA Executive Director Dr. Lisa Indar, the outbreak is associated with the Aedes strain of hantavirus, the only known strain capable of limited human-to-human transmission. The virus is primarily found in parts of South America, including Argentina. She explained that the rodent species responsible for maintaining the virus in nature is not present in the Caribbean, meaning there is currently no documented local route of transmission within the region. CARPHA noted that there are rare instances of human-to-human transmission, typically require intimate or prolonged exposure. The incubation period before symptoms appear can range from 1 to 6 weeks. There is currently no antiviral treatment or vaccine for the virus. Medical care is primarily supported and may include oxygen therapy and intensive monitoring for severe cases.
However, the current hantavirus outbreak linked to the MV Hondias cruise ship is caused by the Andes strain, which is the only known strain capable of limited human-to-human transmission. It is found primarily in parts of South America, including Argentina. Based on the evidence available, the rodent species that maintains this virus in nature is not present in the Caribbean, and therefore there is no documented established local route of transmission in our region. This rare human-to-human transmission usually requires intimate or prolonged exposure, while the incubation period before symptoms appear is usually 1 to 6 weeks. There is no current antiviral treatment or vaccine. Care is supportive, including oxygen therapy and intensive monitoring. So CARPHA advises our member states and the public to remain vigilant but not alarmed. CARPHA's Caribbean-tailored early warning surveillance and laboratory system mechanisms and network is actively monitoring the situation and can detect and respond when needed. Through close collaboration with regional and international partners, we remain focused on providing proactive communication with its member states and the public to ensure accurate information sharing, reduce misinformation, and to support the situational awareness effort in relation to the outbreak.
Members of the public are being encouraged to practice good hygiene, including frequent hand washing, avoiding close contact with persons who are unwell, and taking precautions in environments where rodents may be present. The agency said these preventative measures are effective not only against hantavirus, but also against a wide range of infectious diseases. CARPHA further reiterated that global health authorities, including the World Health Organization, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and health agencies in the United Kingdom are actively monitoring and containing the situation. Britannia Whittle, 24 News.
And in sports, the Virgin Islands is currently welcoming some of the Caribbean's top young basketball players this weekend for the inaugural ANOCES Under-23 3x3 basketball tournament. Details in this report.
The Association of National Olympic Committees of the OECS, ANOCES, in partnership with the British Virgin Islands Olympic Committee, BVIOC, will be hosting the highly anticipated ANOCES Under-23 3x3 basketball tournament starting on Saturday, May 16th. Participating countries include British Virgin Islands, St. Kitts and Nevis, Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Grenada. President of ANOCES and BVIOC, Ephraim PENN, says Team BVI is ready for the challenge ahead.
The BVI team is looking good. We're hoping for the best, but the competition looks strong. They've been practicing, we've seen them working out, and we look forward to great competition. As I said, it's not going to be easy, but they're ready.
He described it as a major event, as ANOCES has not been the most active. However, with the help of the Pan American Sports Organization, investment is being made in various sports. He called on residents to come out and support the team.
This is our first major event, and it's been sponsored and supported by Pan Am Sports because they have seen the need. Representation was made to Pan Am Sports for more competition in the region it was initially made by the NOC of St. Kitts and Nevis, and we followed up with a session in the Junior Pan American Games in Paraguay last year, and we were able to secure funding to assist the development of 5 sports, mainly track and field, swimming, beach volleyball, table tennis, and of course here we're doing today 3x3 basketball. This is the first event, a historic event for us. We must thank the persons from FIBA, mainly Mr. Uzi Richards, who has worked very hard to get us this brand new court that you see we are using right now, and it's going to stay in the BVI, so it's going to be a legacy of this tournament, and we can't thank Uzi enough for his efforts in this. He'll be here over the weekend to witness his court in action. So we're all excited. It's going to be a great weekend. Come out, support our athletes, support basketball, and let's make it happen.
The games will end on Sunday, May 17th. Britannia Whittle, 24 News.
And that's it for today's news roundup. Be sure to follow us for daily news updates at 284media.com. Like us on Facebook at 284media and 284BVI on Instagram and X, formerly Twitter. I am Jacques Wooding Donovan, and I will see you again next week. So have yourself a safe and enjoyable weekend. And we're also hoping to see you over at the Multipurpose Sports Complex for the ANOCES Under-23 Basketball 3x3 Championship. Hoping to see you there. It promises to be a high-energy event. Goodbye.